to bring up there's a big kind of like controversial debate on social media in particular right now. And also we were a part of a documentary, Fed a Lie, and it's talking about seed oils and this movement of, it's just literally in every processed food item now. You'll see like sunflower, canola, safflower
even in
oil,
organic foods,
even in organic foods.
For sure.
Especially at restaurants.
What's your opinion on seed oils and nuts and seeds in particular? Because I've even done a bit of posting and people just kind of lip really hard on me. I'm like, well, I've changed my health in a lot of ways that I'm so grateful for, and I just want to promote that because I know there's a lot of women and men who are struggling, and so it needs to be a big movement in our American society right now.
It certainly is a big movement with, I guess, the Maha, kind of movement. They're certainly expressing that. I actually see it as it's all polyunsaturated fats, not just seed oils, right? Because any sort of polyunsaturated fat has these same properties that they're easily oxidized. In your body, we know that the TPUFA fats can actually have an inhibitory effect on energy production. So that's why, from my perspective, they're not something, right? If you use them to produce energy, so your cells will use fats, sugars, amino acids within the Krebs cycle to produce energy. And if they're come in the form of a polyunsaturated fat, then that tends to inhibit energy production on some fashion. And everything that I want to do is to improve energy production. And saturated fats don't seem to have that same consequence. So utilize it now. It's not to also say, I'm also not a big promoter of just having excessive fats. I'm not like, have all the fat you want as long as it's saturated. I don't believe in that either. Yeah. I think that we have to have some context. Some people do a little bit better with more fat, some do not. I tend to go to the moderate level of fat because I prefer people to use more carbohydrates as fuel versus fat. But you use both. You have 37 trillion cells. There's never a time that you're only using carbohydrates, and there's never a time you're only using fat. Even if you're on a zero carb diet, you will still use glucose as fuel. So when we know that, we have certain cells that just use fat more often. We have some that use carbohydrates more often. But the polyunsaturated fats, seed oils, they do seem to have this inhibitory effect mechanistically in your cells. Sometimes when we look at the literature, like when we look at things like, well, when this people ate the seed oils and these people took it away from the saturated, they actually show that, well, they had a better health consequence from that. So unfortunately, in nutrition, some of the research we have is not great because it's really hard for us to isolate these kind of things for long periods of time. So for instance, you can get a good result from just eating less, and as long as it's less calories, you might still get a good health result if someone just eats Snicker bars, as long as it's calorie restriction and they lose weight, they will have a better health result. Now, if you do that for years and years, that is not going to work out for you. And in my opinion, eating polyunsaturated fats in the majority of your diet for years and years is also going to have a negative effect. I know I've reduced them significantly probably for the last 15 years. And I just feel my body works better. And so so again, that's anecdotal. Mechanistically, they certainly have a lot of negative effects. In my new book, there'll be a chapter on essentially how these fats are working within your system. But again, we are very aware there is a fight on here saying, no, there is no data that points to that. And to some degree, that's true. But in some degrees, it's like, we don't know that genetically modified foods are bad, right? Because there's no real data long term. There's probably never going to be. But, but do I want a food that's genetically modified filled with glyphosates and herbicides? No, I don't. And so, and seeing the health and what is happening to people, is it reasonable to expect that could be contributing, knowing mechanistically how these things react in our body? Yeah, I think that we should consider that for sure.